"Where were you when you discovered the void looked back?" I laughingly asked my students, as I swung lazily in my high-backed teacher's chair, an odd behaviour, so I have been told, that I had picked up a couple of years ago. The students looked up suddenly at my words, tearing their gaze from their text screens, where they had been studying the ancient and somewhat boring, as it had been stated, history of our planet. I waved at them to continue their reading, as I swung slowly in my chair, smiling to myself. My name is a rat of the Loran, head historian of the Loran People's Center of Learning. Sounds quite imposing, does it not? However, it is just a title bestowed on a middle-aged female, too set in her ways to step aside when the center of learning needed a hole filled. History is a required learning outcome for our young, but few do more than the basics to pass. I love history. It keeps us grounded as we search for new planets and the possibility of other sentient races amongst the stars in our corner of the galaxy. The young think only of the future and forget the tapestry of the past. As we had evolved from a third arboreal biped, our need to climb higher sent us to space, and we have been a spacefaring society for nearly 100 years, inhabiting all 14 planets in our solar system. In those explorative years, we had failed to contact any other sentient races in the quite dense star cluster that was our corner of an expansive galaxy. As a pack animal, our fear of being alone forever, when we had progressed so far, was debilitating. However, back to my story, which mostly started approximately 3 years ago. I must admit I lead a rather sedentary life, buried amid the histories of my race, but it filled my days and gave me comfort. This hobby drew me to anomalies that began to form patterns, written off as miracles. As a pragmatic person, I do not believe in miracles, so with access to my people's entire history, including the secret archives, my mind targeted the patterns. I was not taken seriously, therefore, between trying to teach an unresponsive, restless youth history and my duties as head historian. I began my own project. The most alarming patterns. 287 years ago, a planet-destroying comet was detected on an intercept course with our planet. There was no hope of survival. However, when all mathematical models determined we would be struck by the planet killer, at the last moment, the comet veered into space for no observable reason, never to be seen again. 223 years ago, the planet suffered a solar flare that should have scorched us nearly dry, but was saved by the planet intersecting with a comet, shower of ice, that skated along the atmosphere, raining trillions of tons of water across the planet, while shielding it from the worst effect of the flare. There had been no prior observation of the comet field. 37 years ago, a supervolcano threatened to destroy half the planet when, for no geological reason, it became dormant. So many stories came to light of incidents that should have destroyed our peoples. Some society deified these as miracles. Most just continued on as the incidents became just another page of forgotten history. I became obsessed. As I delved deeper into these anomalies, it became maddening that I could not link these events. Therefore, I decided to publish my work to encourage others to look for the patterns. Finding a science journal that would publish my work became impossible. After trudging home following a long and disappointing meeting with the editor of the Loran Science Journal, I opened my door slowly and walked into the darkened room so depressed I did not even bother to turn on the light. As my mind rose from its negative thoughts, I noticed light streaming from under my office door. I never left that light on. The dry squeak of my old, comfortable office chair could be heard coming from within. Being too tired to care about what sort of intruder had invaded my home, I pushed open the door to see the strange sight of an unknown life form in a black, loose-fitting coverall, lazily spinning in my chair in the middle of the floor, eyes closed with a smile on its face. The smile seemed as familiar as any I had seen among my people, and gave me a strange feeling of kinship to this being. Before I could open my mouth to speak, the stranger spoke in my language. I have not done that in a century. The day had been tiring, my mood somber, and an unknown species was swinging in my office chair. I plonked myself on the adjacent lounge chair and watched as the intruder slowly came to a stop facing me. Opening its eyes, the stranger observed me, and the smile became a cheeky grin, like a young cub caught doing something they should not. Arate of the Loran, head historian of the Loran People's Center of Learning. It is my utmost honor to meet a shining mind such as yourself, the stranger stated as it stood to face me. I also rose. Though it was a head taller than me, I felt no concerns, which in itself was strange. Raising its right arm across its chest, it placed the palm of its hand flat on its upper chest in some form of salute, then slightly bowed its head towards me, the smile never leaving its face. "What? No welcome, we come in peace?" I replied with a smile of my own. This made the stranger laugh so hard it had to sit down in the chair again. Slowly getting itself under control, it stood again and wiped tears from its eyes. "That comment alone proves we were right about your species. My name is Keenan. My species is called human, of primate origin, and I'm a male of my species. Our home planet is in the galaxy that you call the Spiral Wave, and we do come in peace." It was my turn to sit down. "Another galaxy," I mumbled. "Our ships would take over 100 million years to get there at maximum speed." "The technology exists for my ship to be home by the time your sun rises tomorrow," he spoke softly. Overcoming the initial shock, my mind began to make order of my thoughts. Looking up sharply, "You? It was you all along, saving our planet. Why?" "Yes, Arate, it was," Keenan replied. "You are precious to us. Your potential is amazing." "Why have you not shown yourself before now?" Keenan sat back down and sighed. "We have made mistakes in the past, showing ourselves too early. My race is very old. In the beginning, we yearned for the stars such as your race does, but when we reached them, we realized we were alone, and no other star-traveling races existed. There were the beginnings of sentient races, crude and barbaric, but nowhere near our technological level. In our rush to make friends and companions, we shared some of our technology. However, this was never enough, and what was shared was used to dominate others. Civilizations were destroyed because of us. Our technology brings out the worst in species who desire it. We painfully learned that we cannot give our technology away, it must be earned. To that end, we became nurturers of sentience. Very few know of our existence, and only 2 share our technology. We do what we can to protect the rare and special gift of sentience, to allow it to proceed along its own unique path." My head was spinning. "You have the power of gods!" I exclaimed. Keenan chuckled. "Oh, we are far from being gods. We are a primate who caught a lucky break on the road to evolution." "Why here? Why now?" I uttered, shaking my head. And then, with a moment of clarity, I exclaimed, "My research!" "You are such a bright light amongst the dark of the void, Arate," Keenan smiled. "Are you here to stop me?" "No," Keenan replied. "The decision will always be yours. However, you should consider the harm you could cause." "What harm? The truth is the truth." "You are right, but please consider this. Your race is rightly proud of their achievements. Your technology is evolving every day. The uniqueness your race will one day show to the sentient races of the galaxies will be something to be proud of. However, how will your species react knowing that a race exists so far advanced as to make everything you have achieved to be as the musings of children, and that race has been watching and interfering in your development?" Keenan replied sadly. I sat in quiet contemplation. Keenan was right. My people were proud of what we had achieved, but what if they knew the fruits of their toil were achieved by standing on the shoulders of giants? "We have searched for over 100 years to find other sentient species, and you now tell me you don't want me to tell anyone?" I moaned, putting my head in my hands. "Your people will meet others soon enough. Those species are also struggling to understand the universe. Most do not have the level of technology you have, but just like your people, their uniqueness will strengthen your shared bonds when you meet," Keenan replied softly. My mind was unable to focus with the information overload it had received. We were not alone. Before you make a decision, whether or not you will publish your research, would you like to visit my ship? Keenan's voice broke from my dark thoughts. How can you hide your ship coming to get us? My ship is a cylinder, 500 meters long by 150 meters diameter, and has been in a geosynchronous orbit over your house at a height of 10 kilometers for 5 days, and no one has noticed. Keenan smirked. Technology, I stated, and Keenan nodded. I can return whenever I wish? Of course, Keenan replied. Your safety and well-being is why I came tonight. Minds like yours must be protected. I feel numb. Then let us reinvigorate you, Keenan responded as he stood. Holding out his hand in a gesture that was as natural to him as it was to me, I placed my hand in his and allowed myself to be gently pulled up from my chair. Do I need a spacesuit or something? I asked timidly. No, Keenan smiled. Shall we go? With more courage than I thought I had, I nodded. As if speaking to thin air, Keenan requested, A door, please, Aurora. On the wall we faced, a black smudge appeared that expanded to coalesce into an archway. This led into a beautifully decorated room that I knew did not exist beyond my office wall. Leading me gently, Keenan stepped forward through the arch. My ship is currently suspended in a created pocket dimension, with minimal intrusion into normal space so that we can observe your world, Keenan explained. The arch we walk through is one of those intrusions. Shock, amazement, awe. I could not process fast enough what I was seeing. A quick glance behind me showed the wall we had just walked through, colourful and unbroken by an arch. Greetings, Arate. A smooth, silky voice brought my attention back to the front. Standing before me was what must have been a female of Keenan's species. However, her skin was silver and her hair gold. Without thinking, I stepped forward and raised my hand to touch her skin, only realizing at the last moment how inappropriate that was. Embarrassed, I withdrew my hand. Stepping closer, the silver-skinned female caught my hand and gently placed it on her cheek. Please, the woman stated. Touch is so special for us, a gift from the humans. Touching her face, I was amazed at the softness. I had expected the harshness of metal. However, it felt as warm and soft as any skin I had ever felt. A tendril of golden hair fell across my hand, and its luxuriousness was equal to any fur on any of my kind. My name is Aurora, and I am the pilot of this starship, the female smiled. Forgive my forwardness, I apologized, but your looks are spectacular, even after already meeting one human. Aurora laughed, a warm musical tone. Forgiveness is not necessary, and I am not human. I look like a human by choice. However, my kind are artificial. We call ourselves techs, and were created by the humans. That is not possible, I began, before remembering what I had been told. Technology, I finished, and Aurora nodded her head. Looking down at my arm, Aurora asked, May we reciprocate? To which I nodded. Placing her hand on the fur of my arm, Aurora closed her eyes and began to softly stroke my fur. After a moment she stopped, and we both withdrew our hands. Opening her eyes, Aurora smiled. Now, tell her what you did, Keenan smirked. I looked at Aurora a bit confused. Glancing at Keenan with an annoyed look, Aurora spoke. My kind were not created with the ability to feel, to touch, until the humans made it possible, so we cherish new and beautiful experiences which we share together. When I was touching you and you touching me, I shared those feelings with my kind. Nervously, I asked, how many of your kind will know what my fur feels like? 4,355,204, Aurora replied. I was stunned. I did not know what to say. Looking at Aurora, I saw the trepidation in her face, concern for my welfare, after what, to her, had been a special moment. These people that were in control of power beyond comprehension were concerned for my feelings. Shaking my head, I laughed. "We can do better than that," I stated, before stepping forward and encompassing Aurora in my arms. "I think a hug is more appropriate." It took only seconds for Aurora to respond to my embrace, and reciprocated. After what seemed like ages, Keenan's voice broke through our moment. "What about my hug?" Leaving Aurora's arms, I turned to him, stating, "You haven't earned one yet." Keenan laughed at my quip, maintaining a smile as if he had just been gifted something special. "Your species will shine so brightly, Arate. In time they will have ships such as this," Keenan stated, raising his arms to gesture at the room around us. Taking my first good look around, we seemed to be in a hexagonal room, 10 meters across and 3 meters high. Colourful patterns appeared to be projected on most walls, giving a calming effect. Central to the room were 2 large, comfortable-looking high-backed chairs, facing a view screen that curved around 2 of the hexagonal walls. Displayed on it was my homeworld, in all its magnificence. "Welcome to the bridge of the starship Esperanza," Aurora stated with obvious pride. "But where is the instrumentation?" I queried. "Aurora is the pilot," Keenan replied. "She controls all ship functions. Her input is acted upon by over 100 non-sentient computers throughout the ship, at the speed of her thoughts." "How many crew?" I asked. 35 humans and 4 techs are on board, with 4 humans and 1 tech currently carrying out routine maintenance of a monitoring station on the furthest planetoid of your solar system, Trelan," Aurora responded. "A monitoring station?" "Yes. We installed it over 400 years ago when your world was discovered, and it needs a bit of an upgrade. That is how we learned of you, Arate," Keenan replied. "So what now?" "Our crew on Trelan is ready to be picked up. Would you like to come with us for a short trip?" Aurora asked. "Oh, yes please," I responded. Looking around, I could only see the 2 chairs. "Where should I sit?" "That will not be necessary," Aurora smiled. "We are already there." I was startled that the view of my planet had changed to the scarred ice world of Trelan. Sitting down slowly in one of the comfortable chairs, I felt tiny and insignificant, as I viewed Trelan with a clarity only observation from space could achieve. Keenan approached and sat in the adjoining chair. "All this will be yours one day, Arate, but time must pass to evolve into the people that can use this technology wisely." "But my people suffer thinking they are alone," I murmured, as I watched the scene on the display change back to my home world in the blink of an eye. "If I told you what your future would be, would life be as beautiful or wondrous? How would your people feel if there were no more discoveries to make?" Keenan responded. "As much as I hate to say it, you are right." I wanly smiled at him. "Like a spoilt child given all the toys, my people would not become what I believed to be possible." A tour of the ship was in itself a marvelous thing. Our ships were metal corridors covered in pipes and conduits, where this ship was curved lines and grace, colourful and well lit from concealed sources. We stopped and ate at a table in the middle of parkland next to a trickling brook. They had used 100 meters along the length of the ship and 1/4 of the ship's radius, just for a nature reserve. When passing other humans and techs, all stepped aside and gave me the salute Keenan had used, and always with a smile. I was a primitive nobody to them, yet they treated me as an equal. Returning to the bridge, Aurora gestured to one of the chairs. I sat down, heavily overcome with emotion, both dark and joyful, vying for dominance. Keenan and Aurora stood quietly as I made my decision. "I will say nothing," I intoned sadly. Noticing the arch on the far wall that led back into my office, I stood when Keenan offered his hand, and he walked me back through the arch into my office that now felt grey and lifeless. That feeling alone made me further realize what the humans were trying to achieve. "Thank you," I told him. Stepping forward, I held Keenan in a hug. "Your species has earned this." "Arate of the Loran, for what you do for your people, I wish to give you a gift," Keenan spoke softly. "It is a key of sorts. Trust the key, as he pressed something into my hand. Stepping back, I held up the gift he had given me in the palm of my hand. The figurine was small enough I could fully enclose it in my fist, and was of a species I had never seen before. The detail was incredible, and the colouring on the bird or reptile hybrid superb. 2 digitigrade legs held the body aloft in a slightly leaning forward stance. 2 arms protruded from the shoulders that ended in 2 hands, with 6 versatile fingers on each. On its back were feathers, or maybe vestigial wings. The head held bright, expressive eyes under a flat brow with a short snout, basically a muzzle. Turning towards Keenan, I was too late, as the portal on my office wall closed behind him. Confused, I sat down slowly in my office chair, barely able to take my eyes from the figurine I held. 2 years later, our world changed. The outer planets detected a power surge of gigantic proportions as a starship entered our solar system heading directly for our home planet. Shedding speed as it came, the visitors took 3 months to slow enough to enter a geosynchronous orbit of our planet. Over those 3 months, we established contact, protocols were created, and information flowed between us. Our visitors had created a space-warping drive and had come calling, following our signals to reach us. As the head historian, I was elected to be in the contact party to meet our visitors that was shuttled down to our planet. Our imagery translation matrices had not proven compatible, so we waited in heightened anticipation to see our visitors in the flesh. When the shuttle had cooled enough to lower the ramp, our visitors exited. Approximately our height, they moved in short, sharp movements like a bird. They appeared very similar in colour and shape to each other, but I could see the difference. As the leaders of their people and ours approached each other, one of the smaller visitors broke from the group, causing concern, but I had none. I would know her in a field of millions of her kind, as I held her in my hand. Racing towards me, she stopped a meter away, causing an uproar with security on both sides. Slowly, she extended her hand and opened a fist. Resting on her palm was a figurine of me. As if now embarrassed, she slowly ran her empty hand backwards and forwards along the beautifully coloured scales on her arm that were supporting the figure while looking at me, then opened her arms. Opening my own hand, I held the figure of her on my palm, and without hesitation walked into her embrace. The confusion around us did not matter. The noise around us did not matter. Though eons may pass before we can walk with those amazing humans, they had made sure we would never be alone again.